Hello, one and all. Back at it again. We're going to talk about the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft. And if you know, if you noticed, the background is gone. That's because I actually sat down on it and pulled it down because I was really excited. As soon as I signed off, so many things started happening. So let's just go ahead and get into some of it. You're going to catch me looking down at my phone and looking to see, just remember the order of things that happened because, again, a lot happened in this draft. I have grades for particularly, players and picks and that kind of thing on this as well. Let's take a look. Let's start things off with the veterans that got traded. Hollywood Brown. Actually, no, let's start with A.J. Brown. Let's start with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown headed to the Philadelphia Eagles from the Tennessee Titans. 4 years, $100 million right out of the gate for the Philadelphia Eagles. And now they turned a weakness into, I would say it's a strength. Because I think they'll go another receiver at some point in the draft, maybe third, fourth round. So you go from Devante Smith being number one and then number two being who knows, to now you have A.J. Brown as your one. Devante Smith is your number two, which that's a hell of a number two right there. Quez Watkins is suddenly a pretty solid number three. I like Quez Watkins as a piece. And Jalen Reagor can bag groceries or something. But a really good deal for the Philadelphia Eagles. And as for the Tennessee Titans, if they didn't want to pay A.J. Brown, which A.J. Brown is on the cusp of being a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think he's there right now, but I think he could be. You go out and you use the pick that you get to take Arkansas wide receiver Treylon Burks, my number 4 wide receiver in the draft, 21 on the big board, and if you're going to compare him to somebody, A.J. Brown's a pretty solid comparison. So I got to say, as much as I would love to sit here and dog the Titans for making that trade, if you're going to try to replace someone cheaper, Treylon Burks is a good way to go. I look at this a lot of the same way that I did when the Vikings traded Stephon Diggs to Buffalo for a pick that would become Justin Jefferson. I think this could be very similar. I'm a big Treylon Burks guy. Just because A.J. Brown has proven it and is young, yeah, there is something to that, 100%. But I like Treylon Burks, and don't count him out in Tennessee. I think that can be a really solid pick. The other one, Hollywood Brown, going from the Baltimore Ravens to the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals giving up pick 23 for Hollywood Brown, of all people. This man had a lot of drops in big situations last year. 23rd overall pick. He also has trouble staying healthy. Tyreek Hill went for a second-round pick. A.J. Brown went for 18. Devontae Adams went for a first. Hollywood Brown, I'm confused as to what Arizona is doing. I understand that Kyler Murray played with Hollywood Brown in college, but I don't know what they're doing. I'll be honest, I don't know. Meanwhile, Baltimore, they suddenly have a much thinner receiver room. I know Hollywood Brown's not really a wide receiver one, but he kind of was for them. I think Rashad Bateman will grow into that, but I want to see them address wide receiver on day 2 because they have a lot of holes there. However, Baltimore, they did a pretty good job in this draft. They go Kyle Hamilton. And where they got Kyle Hamilton, I don't think they overdrafted him. I think that was a really solid pick. I really liked Kyle. By the way, the Treylon Burks pick, let me go ahead. I have the grade for it because some people really care about that, myself included. Treylon Burks, I actually gave that pick an A because I think moving the trade aside, that's a great pick for the Titans. And I gave the Kyle Hamilton pick a B+, because I really would love to have seen them go in the trenches, whether that's offensive or defensive line. And they also probably needed some more depth at corner. They were just killed by injuries to their corner group last year. So I think that they had bigger needs. But you pair Kyle Hamilton up with Marcus Williams, that's a dangerous combo. And suddenly they've turned their safety position into a huge, huge strength. But that was not the pick of theirs that I want to spend the most time talking about, because they would go with, if it will let me get to the graphic. There we go. I mean, hello. Tyler Linderbaum? That is a fantastic... I would have been happy with them making that pick with their original pick at 13. He was my 9th best player in this whole draft. The complaint is maybe he's a little bit undersized to play center. Baltimore desperately needs a center, and if you turn on the tape and watch Tyler Linderbaum play center, this man could be 7 pounds. I'm sure he'd find a way to win at the line of scrimmage. He is ferocious, and he wins. He's a winner. I love this pick, and I love this draft for Baltimore. There's a lot of teams that had very, very good drafts. Let's go ahead and talk about the state of New York. Talked about it in my previous video. The Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal? I am a little disappointed that they could not get one of the corners, be it Derek Stingley Jr. or Sauce Gardner. However, the way the draft fell, they might be able to get one at the top of the second round, because Andrew Booth Jr. did not go round 1. Kyler Gordon didn't go round 1. Maybe they like... I think it'd be a little early for Roger McCreary or Tariq Woolen, but that could be a possibility. You never know. There's a chance to get one of those guys at the top of round 2, so they could if they get Andrew Booth Jr. I mean, hello, that's a great. I mean, it's a great draft regardless. Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal are 2 of the best players in this draft, but I would like to see them address that, especially if they're going to trade away James Bradbury, like a lot of people have expected them to do. They're looking to dump his contract. Love to see them add somebody else to that group. But the Giants did not have the best draft out of the New York teams. Let's talk about the damn New York Jets. I said it in my first video. Who are these guys? Who replaced the New York Jets that I know that filled me with disappointment, dread, and unhappiness, and replaced it with a team that goes and gets my second best player in the entire draft in Sauce Gardner, gets my number 1 receiver, the first wide receiver taken in the first round by the New York Jets since 2001. 2001. I was 6. But then they move up, and I am ecstatic about this pick right here, where they would go with a guy that was rumored to go to them. And go back to my first video. I sound really disappointed. Oh, Jermaine Johnson could go to the New York Jets. At 4 or 10, I don't like that pick. At 26, I adore this pick. I love this pick. This is a high ceiling pick. This is what you trade up to do. This is what you trade up to do. And the Jets, I disagree with them on this entirely, but they had Johnson as a top 10 player on their board. They had Gardner as a top 10 player on their board, and they also had Garrett Wilson. Last year, they got 3 players in their top 15 with Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Elijah Moore. And this year, they get 3 players in their top 10. Joe Douglas is a mastermind. He got a second-round pick from the Carolina Panthers for Sam Darnold, who is trash. He got a 4th-round pick from the Minnesota Vikings for Chris Herndon, who had like 3 catches last year. The Jets might not have won too many games in the last few years, but as long as Joe Douglas gets to make trades and make draft picks, I think the New York Jets are heading to good places. And you know what? The New York Giants and what they've done, I can't remember the GM's name. I think it's Doran. I could be way off on that. Not a bad first draft for him. New York, man, I'm hoping that they get it turned around. The NFL's more fun when the New York teams are playing well. Maybe that's just me who has that opinion. All right, let's talk about the one quarterback went in this draft, and he didn't even get picked in the top 19. Kenny Pickett. Only quarterback to go in the first round. Kenny Pickett, fourth quarterback on my board. He heads to the Pittsburgh Steelers, stays in the city. I think Mitchell Trubisky is still the best quarterback in this draft, or the best quarterback on this team. I don't think Pickett to Pittsburgh makes much sense to me. Because if you get Pickett, it's because your current option is atrocious and you need someone that can come in right away. But Trubisky is like a low-level starter type of guy. He's not Sam Darnold. He's better than that. So I don't get this pick. Malik Willis still available. Matt Corral still available. Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell. Day 2 of this draft is going to be fun. Also, no running backs taken in this draft. A lot of folks thought that maybe Buffalo would go with Breece Hall. That did not come to fruition. Big trade made as I signed off, and I might have mentioned it. I'm not sure. Jameson Williams going to the Detroit Lions. I was kind of lukewarm on this for the simple reason of you move up 20 picks, but the Vikings and the compensation of that pick was just so bad that it made no sense to do that. And the Lions are the type of team that can wait on a guy like Jameson Williams to recover from his ACL injury, come back. You know, I think the Jets wouldn't have been they would have needed him then and there. Amon-Ra St. Brown might be a number 1 wide receiver in this league, and DJ Chark's not a half bad number 2. You add Jameson Williams to that, whoever the quarterback is, if they get one on day 2, which they still very well could, is going to have some weapons to play with. DeAndre Swift in the backfield, TJ Hawkinson. That's a damn good offensive line, too. The Lions might be atrocious on defense. Yes, they added Aiden Hutchinson, but their back 7 is just awful. And that's where they need to spend the bulk of their work next year. But offensively, man, this is a unit with some talent. They really got some talent in here. Garrett Wilson to the Jets. Love that pick. Drake London to Atlanta. They needed receiver help badly. Olave to the Saints. Another crisp Ohio State wide receiver that runs great routes. They've made it work with a guy who used to do that before. Any other receivers going round 1? Oh, yeah, that's right. Jahan Dotson went a lot earlier than I would have expected. Jahan Dotson going number 29 on my board, so it's not like him going round 1 is a shock to me, and I thought he would go later to Kansas City. He goes 16 to the Commanders, who they did need. They did need another receiver apart from Terry McLaurin, and the board did not fall their way as far as corners. Stingley, Gardner, both going off very early. Never had a shot at getting either of those guys. McDuffie would have been a reach at 11. I think the Vikings saw that as well. We're like, hey, let's back off because the corners, teams that thought maybe one of those guys could slide, they were wrong because neither of them did, and they both moved back as a result of that. At least I venture to guess that that's why they moved back. Jahan Dotson, again, I think that he is kind of Diet Coke Garrett Wilson. And I didn't think that would go 6 picks after Garrett Wilson. But the Washington Commanders still got a really good receiver out of the pick. I gave that pick, let's see, I gave that pick a B- just because I would have loved for them to go Traylon Burks. I think Burks would have been a solid. I think I was a little too harsh. I'll bump it up to a B. But it's because I think Dotson provides a nice contrast there. You could play him in the slot. I'm gonna go with a B. Ooh, interesting thing just came across my desk. Apparently Aaron Rodgers, when he came back to Green Bay, he thought Devontae Adams was going to be there too. We're going to get to the Packers pick here soon, but can't imagine Aaron Rodgers is happy today because they not the best. No tight ends going round 1. I thought maybe there would be, or I didn't. But with these drafts and a draft, whenever a draft has a position that's pretty bad, a team will have their guy, and they're like, okay, well, this position group is bad, but we have one guy that we love, and we will overpick to get him. So I was wondering if somebody really valued Trey McBride or Greg Dulcich, maybe they'd go late round, and I'm glad that that didn't happen because no tight end in this draft class is anywhere near first-round quality, so I'm glad that teams avoided that urge. Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints. I love the Olave pick. This one, not as much. Trevor Penning, offensive tackle, Northern Iowa. I gave this pick a C because I have him at my big board at number 31. And just the way that I talk about him, I feel like maybe I should have him lower because 31 implies first round. But no matter who picked him in this draft, I was going to feel like he's a little bit too developmental to be a first-round type of guy. But everybody after the big three to me felt that way. Everybody after Equanu, Neal, and Cross felt like they would be a little bit more developmental, and offensive tackle is a position that a lot of teams do need. So there were going to be teams that were jockeying for the Trevor Pennings, the Daniel Falalais, the Bernard Raymonds of the world. And Penning would be the one that got the most hype because he is a little bit more moldable than these other guys. I'm interested. They're going to put him in week 1, go fill the Terran Armstead role. And as somebody who thought that either Evan Neal or Charles Cross was going to fall to the Saints at their first pick, pretty disappointing. I'm glad they didn't use that 11th pick to trade up and get him because that was my original fear when they moved up, that they were going to get Penning, and that would have just not been good. But it could have been a lot better for the Saints in what they got at right tackle. I'll just leave it at that. Interior offensive line, I'm glad that these guys didn't fall into the second round because these were all first-round quality players. Let's start with the first one to go. A little bit surprising because it felt like he was kind of falling down boards, and I didn't agree with it whatsoever. I think the Houston Texans had a great day today. They go and get Derek Stingley at number 3, and then they shore up their offensive line. I think their tackles are pretty good. Laramie Tunsil's a franchise left tackle, and Titus Howard, he's not a bad right tackle. Not a bad right tackle at all. So you go and you shore up the guards, and they did that today by getting Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M, my number 2 interior offensive lineman, number 16 on my big board, and he's also very versatile. So if Titus Howard was to go down, you can go over to right tackle, and I would definitely prefer him to play at guard over tackle, but a fantastic pick for the Houston Texans there. I thought they had a tremendous day today. I really liked what they did. Los Angeles Chargers, they missed out on the Jordan Davis sweepstakes, and they go with Zion Johnson. By the way, I give the Kenyon Green pick an A+. Texans, A and A+ picks for them. Love what they did. Zion Johnson, I have a feeling they might try to kick Matt Filer out to right tackle to replace Storm Norton. I don't want them to kick Zion Johnson out. I know he's played some tackle in his career at Boston College. I don't want them to kick him out to tackle. I want him to play guard. But they are getting a fantastic player in Los Angeles. They don't get the run stuffer I wanted with Jordan Davis, but I was really hoping. I kept hearing they're going to take receiver. And it's like, I like Joshua Palmer. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, like they have good receivers in Los Angeles. You have other needs, fill those, and they get one of the best football players in the draft with Zion Johnson. I already talked about Tyler Linderbaum. That Zion Johnson pick is a B+. Because I would have loved for them to have gotten a pure right tackle as opposed to kicking Filer out, which is probably what they're going to do after this, and I don't love that idea. It's better than Storm Norton, but again, anything is. I just would have loved for them to, if this would have been Cross, I would have been all over it, but, he wasn't going to fall this far, apparently. And then this guy here, I'm not necessarily surprised that he went round 1, but more of where he ended up, and that's Tyler Smith out of Tulsa. The Dallas Cowboys have always been really good about investing in the offensive line. I thought maybe they go Tyler Linderbaum, they go another Tyler, that being Tyler Smith. I gave this pick an A. I really, really like this pick. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's young. He's moldable. you can play him at guard and then kick him out back to tackle in 2 or 3 years or so once Tyron Smith retires. I'm a big fan of this pick for the Dallas Cowboys. I think they knocked it out of the park with this one. I would have loved for them to have gone with receiver, but the board didn't really break that way where it could have been a reasonable pick. And they'll have opportunities to go receiver on day 2. Would have loved for them to go with Daxton Hill. That would have been maybe even a better pick, but I really like this Tyler Smith pick for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk about the single biggest reach of day 1. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Jets fan and a Patriots hater. Go on Twitter, go on the Consensus Mock Draft Center. This is the biggest reach of day 1, and it's Cole Strange out of Chattanooga, interior offensive lineman. Number 9, big board, number 94, and this guy tested through the roof. One of the best offensive line testers ever. But I don't think he's ready to start week 1, and when you're basically picking him to replace Shaq Mason. There's no two ways around it. You pick a guard, and I started the day thinking, is it going to be Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson in New England? And they trade down, so I'm like, okay, maybe they're going to go secondary. Maybe they end up with Daxton Hill. Maybe it's Andrew Booth Jr., and they end up with Cole Strange. And is Belichick really looking forward to Multiverse of Madness or something? I'm really confused. I don't get this pick. I don't get this pick. And I don't necessarily think that they needed to go interior offensive line with that first pick. But they couldn't really pick receiver with the way the board broke. They could go, they could have had their pick of linebackers. Let me see. The only linebackers that were off the board were Devin Lloyd and Quay Walker. So I guess linebacker would have been a reach at that point. Andrew Booth Jr. would have been a great pick. Edge rusher, they could have gone with Carl Loftus. I don't know, man. 94. I gave it an F because you got somebody that I have as a late 3rd round value in the 1st round. That's just not something that I'm going to be kind to. It's not a matter of, it's the Patriots. It's a matter of, I just don't think this is a 1st round value. And you're going to put somebody and start them week 1, and I just don't think they're ready yet. I think athletically, sure, but I think from a technique perspective, Cole Strange has a lot of things that he needs to work on before he can go against. You're going to put this guy up against Quinnen Williams. I rarely ever do I get to use Patriots versus Jets in a positive for the Jets, but that could be ugly. I don't know. No pun intended. It was a strange pick, whatever. Ridiculous. This was the one. There's always one where it's like, where the hell did that come from? And it's the Patriots. Belichick's not a great drafter, but usually at least you can see where he's coming from. Let's take a look at some of the other guards that I have here that could have gone in this spot. Dylan Parham could have been a good pick. I'd rather him go over Jamari Sawyer. Maybe Darian Kennard if he thinks that he's a guard, which I do. There are Ed Ingram out of LSU. If you want to kick Luke Godke from Central Michigan over to guard, you had your other options here. I'm a bit confused as to why Cole Strange specifically. Another thing that confused me a bit is there were less edge rushers taken in the 1st round than I would have expected. No David Ajabo, no Boy Mafe, no Arnold Ebiketie, no Nick Bonito, which I guess that's not surprising. There were some rumors that Drake Jackson would be a 1st round pick. That didn't happen. The only edge rushers to go were the top guys, Trayvon Walker, who, went number 1. That was stupid, but it is what it is. Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, George Karlaftis. We got to talk about Karlaftis. My boy, Mr. Triple Steak Chipotle Burrito here. Going to the Kansas City Chiefs, one of my favorite picks of the draft. This is an A+. Slam dunk. The Kansas City Chiefs had themselves a very good draft. And it's weird because they did not take receiver. I'll get to their other pick here in a second, but they didn't go receiver. And everyone was expecting them to go, all right, you're going to go receiver, and then you're going to go either corner or edge. And they just went corner and edge. But the players they got I thought were fantastic. Karlaftis, that's who I had them going. I had Karlaftis going at 30 to the Chiefs, and somehow I got one right. They got one of the few that I got right was Karlaftis going at 30 to Kansas City, and he's going to be a day one difference maker for the Kansas City Chiefs. I absolutely love this pick. Mr. Triple Steak Burrito here. He ain't going to fail. He's going to be a giant success. No other edge rushers. Jabo didn't go. Benito, Drake Jackson, Boy Mafe, Arnold Ebiketie. All the other guys I had weren't ever really a chance to go round one. Other Kansas City pick, Trent McDuffie out of Washington, who fell a little bit more than I thought he would. I thought that teams, I have him as number 24. That's the value I have. He went number 21, so he's in my value range. However, I thought just based on the needs of teams in the early 10s to teens, he'd go earlier. I thought maybe Minnesota would be willing to take a chance on him at 12. Clearly, they weren't going to do that. Kansas City gets a great value here. They lose Charvarius Ward. Pop Trent McDuffie in there. I think he's a day one starter. Love this pick for Kansas City. I gave McDuffie an A- and Karlaftis an A+. A lot of these teams that had multiple first-round picks really made the most of them. The New York Jets had 3 first-round picks. I gave them an A, an A-, and an A+. The A+ being Garrett Wilson, A being Sauce, and A- being Jermaine Johnson. I wasn't quite as high on him as other people were, but, at 26, I might need to give that an A because the value you're getting there, it has a chance to end up being a historic draft. Baltimore, they had 2 picks. Linderbaum, Hamilton, B+ and an A+. Absolutely great draft. They knocked it out. Texans, Stingley, and why am I blanking on Kenyon Green, A+ and an A. Jacksonville did not fall into that group. They got an F from me for taking Trayvon Walker number 1. I'm not going to rehash that, but I think they did a better job. Not a great job, but a better job with their second pick, that being Utah linebacker Devin Lloyd. He was my top linebacker in this class. I'll be back in just 1 second to break down Devin Lloyd, who wasn't even the first linebacker taken. All right. Yeah, Devin Lloyd, linebacker at Utah, my linebacker number 1. I did not have a first-round grade on him, but I think the Jacksonville Jaguars needed a guy like this. They lost a bunch of linebackers. They did sign the kid from Atlanta. I'm blanking. I know his name, and he is really good, but I am not going to try to pronounce it because I don't want to embarrass myself or, he's a really good player. I don't want to, mess up his last name. Devin Lloyd is the best linebacker in this class. He can do just about anything you ask him to do on a football field. And the Jaguars need guys like that because, let's be honest, I think they whiffed on the first pick of the draft. So I gave Devin Lloyd a B+. It does not make up for the fact that they used their first overall pick on Trayvon Walker. It does not make up for that. But it is a solid pick, and I do think they did a good job getting a good, solid football player in the building. And Trayvon Walker is a solid football player, but at number 1, I just don't think if you get a player number 1, he's supposed to be able to elevate your team day one, and I just don't think Trayvon Walker really does that. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. I really don't want Trevor Lawrence to end up being the next big bust, but we'll see. Speaking of teams that had multiple first-round picks, I talked about the Kansas City Chiefs. They had Karlaftis and McDuffie. They knocked those picks out of the park. Did Tennessee trade there because they got Burks, and they didn't have another first-round pick. I'll have to look at the compensation for A.J. Brown. Did they get a first-round next year? Because the Eagles got the Saints' first-round pick next year, so that could have been it. The Titans just got Burks, which, again, I think is a pretty solid pick. The Giants had multiple, or not the Giants. The Giants did, and they did really well with them. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Green Bay Packers. We're gonna start this off with the one I liked halfway, and that's Devante Wyatt, defensive tackle out of Georgia. My number 26 player on the board. He goes number 28. I think I like this pick more than I'm giving it credit for. I gave it a B, but if I'm being honest, it probably should be a B+. Because Devante Wyatt is a really solid football player. And last year, I was the one guy who gave them a lot of credit for taking Eric Stokes. I loved that pick when no one else did, and I think the pick turned out pretty well. I think this pick could turn out pretty well, but the fact of the matter is Aaron Rodgers came back, and you don't help him out at all. You get rid of his best target. You sign Sammy Watkins. No, don't get me wrong. Sammy Watkins will do great week 1. But I don't know if you know this. There are games after week 1. And the Packers need to be good in those games. They don't have a problem with week 1. Well, they did last year. They got creamed by the Saints. So maybe they do need week 1. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is that concerned about week 1. Devante Wyatt's a good player, but he's not going to move the needle that much for Green Bay. Their first pick, I don't know what we're doing here. Quay Walker, linebacker out of Georgia, linebacker 85 on my big board. Not even the best linebacker out of Georgia, and if we're being honest, the more I think about Channing Tindall, the more I like him. I just wish Channing Tindall knew what the hell he was doing. I think if you actually sit him down with a position coach, Channing Tindall might be the best linebacker from Georgia. Nah, I think Dean will be better. But it ain't Walker. Dean and Tindall get after the ball and get after the quarterback a lot better than Quay Walker does. Quay Walker might be better in coverage, but I don't know. Quay Walker's the one that I'm the least, what do we do with this? And they picked him round 1. I just don't really know how he moves the needle for the Green Bay Packers. I can see how Devante Wyatt makes them better in the long run, but maybe not week 1 or even year 1. I don't see how Quay Walker gets the Packers there. And I saw it with Eric Stokes, and, it may be a petty-ass reason, but he's not Kevin King. Reason enough. Works for me. He was better than Kevin King last year. Quay Walker is going to be sharing time with Devondre Campbell, who was an all-pro linebacker last year. Yeah, I know they're going to run, 3-4, but I just don't. Do you know who's playing receiver? You don't even have MVS anymore. Sammy Watkins, Alan Lazard, Amari Rodgers. I don't know, they at least get Jake Kumaro back for Aaron Rodgers? I'm stupefied as to what the Packers did. And that tends to be a common thing. Last year, again, I loved the Stokes pick. I think Stokes is going to be a really good counterpart for Jair Alexander for years to come. Jair Alexander being one of the top 5 corners in the NFL when healthy. But, man, Aaron Rodgers can't be happy, and as much as we've all bagged on Aaron Rodgers for things he said this year, and, try to leave my opinion out of it as much as possible, but I think rightfully so, you could not blame him if he was mad as hell for how the Packers have done drafting-wise, because, do they have a connection with Georgia or something? Because the last 3 players they've taken have all been Georgia defensive players. Could they have, I wouldn't have necessarily been the biggest fan of it, but could they have at least taken George Pickens? I think you could have gotten a better receiver than Pickens at that time, but could you have gone George Pickens? You can at least fake like you're giving an effort. I don't get it. No other defensive tackles, no other linebackers, which is nice. Nobody's reaching. I'm a bit surprised that Andrew Booth Jr. didn't go round 1, especially since there was building steam that he would go higher than McDuffie. That did not happen. However, another corner did go round 1, that being Kyler Elam out of the University of Florida going to the Buffalo Bills. And I like this pick a considerable amount because the Bills, I might take this opinion with me to my grave, and maybe I'm the only one that thinks it. I don't know. I think the Bills won the Super Bowl last year if Tre'Davious White's healthy. I certainly don't think that Patrick Mahomes goes down the field in 13 seconds. I think Tre'Davious White helps with that or at least, keeps them from scoring 1 or 2 touchdown drives. Tre'Davious White, top 3 corner in the National Football League. Easy. And you got to get somebody. They just lost Levi Wallace. And I do like Dane Jackson, but I would like to have Dane Jackson on the field as more of a nickel or dime package type of guy. Enter Khalil Elam out of Florida. He was a guy I could have gone first round, second round, been fine with either. And again, I'm fine with this pick. I really liked it. I'm going to give this a B+. I'm glad the Bills didn't go with Breece Hall. I think that they needed a corner aside from Tre'Davious White. They got it, and they moved up to get it. And I don't know if they thought that Dallas was really looking at Kyler Elam. I don't know. I can't tell you what Dallas was thinking. Dallas was thinking offensive line, apparently, and they made a really good pick of their own in Tyler Smith. And Buffalo made a damn good pick with Kyler Elam. So I think it's a responsible pick instead of going running back round 1. And apparently the Bills GM was like, who the hell told you guys I was going with Breece Hall? Never even crossed their mind. Which, okay, hey, your words, not mine. 2 more picks to get to before we wrap this baby up. I'm sad. I am very sad about the last 2 picks were both safeties. And this guy's one of my favorite players in the entire draft. That's Daxton Hill out of Michigan. He'll be suiting up for the Cincinnati Bengals. I was hoping the Jets might find a way to get him atop of round 2. That won't happen, but the Cincinnati Bengals knocked this out of the park with Daxton Hill. A+, tremendous pick. Tremendous pick. Jesse Bates unhappy with his contract, but even if they had Jesse Bates and Tyrann Mathieu there for some reason, you can play him at slot corner, and if you have Daxton Hill, maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know. Call it what it is. If you have Daxton Hill in the slot instead of Eli Apple, the Bengals are Super Bowl champions last year. And, I think that directly pushes. I think this pick is made directly as a result of the Super Bowl last year. Because Cooper Kupp does a lot of damage in the slot. And I know, they're not going to play Cooper Kupp. He's not in the AFC North. They don't have to worry about Hollywood Brown anymore. They don't have to worry about Odell Beckham. They don't have to worry about Jarvis Landry. They don't have to worry about Juju Smith-Schuster. So maybe the slot might not be as big of a priority, so you play him at safety, and he can do a ton of damage there as well. Absolutely love Daxton Hill. He was a top 12 player in this draft for me for a reason. And I think that Cincinnati's going to help him realize his potential. He's going to get to play some winning football. And that's one of the benefits to going later in the first round is you still get first-round money, even if it's not as much, but you get to go play meaningful football for a good team. And it's fun to watch these guys do that. Going at the end of the first round, and we'll see how this goes, and that's Lewis Cine out of Georgia. The final pick of the first round, Minnesota Vikings taking him with number 32 after dropping down 20 spots and taking some stupid-ass trade with the Detroit Lions. I'm not a fan of what the Vikings did today. I think they had an opportunity to take Andrew Booth Jr. or Kyler Gordon with that final first-round pick. They need corner help badly. Yeah, they need a safety too, but I would have gone with Jaquan Brisker or Jalen Petrie. I'm a Nick Cross guy, but I understand why Lewis Cine did go in this spot. I gave the pick a C+. I'm not a big fan of it, and I think the Vikings had a bad day. It is what it is. They're gonna get a chance to redeem themselves at the top of round 2, and I hope this pick and the Vikings grade as a whole, and again, grading drafts immediately after the draft happens is kind of pointless. So, everything I'm doing kind of has no point except to either age really badly or really well, and in most cases, really badly. So there's going to be a lot of egg on my face at some point. It is what it is. I like talking about this stuff, so I'm not exactly going to, stop because of that. And I love analyzing this kind of thing. It's part of the fun. It's part of the fun. Getting outraged, you're getting excited. It's a good time. It's a good time. Minnesota, I can't wait to see what they do at top of round 2. Maybe they go with the Kyler Gordon or the Andrew Booth Jr. because they have, I think, the second pick of day 2. I think the first pick belongs to Tampa. Fascinated to see what they do there. Do they go? That could be Breece Hall to Tampa. It could be. They could also go with Jaquan Brisker. That could be the case. Maybe they go corner as well. Maybe Travis Jones, UConn. Get next to Vita Vea, and Ndamukong Suh ain't getting any younger. Let me take a look at who my top guys for round or day 2 are. Who is left? All right. I knew that the top guy left was going to be this man. I mean, it is what it is. Sam Howell. Only one quarterback got taken round 1. And he got taken at 20. To anybody who said, oh, no, this quarterback class isn't that bad, the NFL just told you that they disagree. 2017 was not seen as a good quarterback class at the time, but Trubisky, Watson, and Mahomes still all went in the top half of the draft. There are teams that need quarterbacks, and they are refusing to take them in the first round because it's not a good class. And I'm fascinated to see who takes Sam Howell. Maybe Atlanta. Sam Howell, Drake London. It'd be cool to see. My number 2 player going into day 2, I thought he might go at the end of round 1, but Jaquan Brisker. Lots of teams at top round 2 need safety. And I hope he falls to the New York Jets. I hope that's where we end up going with that pick. I think it's 38 or 39. Maybe the player I'm the most surprised did not go round 1. That's Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson. Number 22 on my board, I really thought that there was steam building, that he would go before McDuffie. And that just did not happen. So he's going to end up being my number 3 player going into day 2. Number 4, top running back. That's Breece Hall. Somebody's getting a weapon on day 2. And if Houston finds a way to get this guy, I mean, their draft fortune, I know we bag on Nick Caserio a lot, but man, he would have an absolute haul on his hands if he was able to get Breece Hall in the building. Number 5, it's an unfortunate, man, I was really hoping Ajabo would go round 1. I don't want someone, because he was going to go top 10, top 15 if he didn't get hurt, but he got hurt, and so we're not going to see that. Somebody's getting a damn good player in round 2, and I hope they take the time with him to acclimate him to the NFL while he is recovering from his Achilles injury, because he has the potential to be an all-pro type edge rusher. I see it with him. There were times where I was watching him where I was like, is he better than Hutchinson? I'd have to bring myself back in a little bit, but he is that good. I absolutely adored his tape. Number 6, another quarterback that I thought might go round 1. That's Matt Corral out of Ole Miss. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with him. But, there's so many shakeups at top of round 2 where could Tennessee go quarterback? It's not implausible. The Giants, maybe? Texans? Seahawks pick back-to-back. Maybe the Colts. Commanders, the Falcons, the Lions, the Saints. There's a a ton of places that maybe Matt Corral could go. Number 7, I know I'm on an island with this one. I don't care. You can't tell me not to love this guy. That's John Mechie out of Alabama. You want someone to get open in a heartbeat, John Mechie out of Alabama. Make the pick. I'm not going to delve too much into that because I know I'm on an island. And same with this guy, although I think it's very possible that he could go more towards the beginning of round 2, although maybe not because not as many safeties went in round 1 as I thought might. And that's Nick Cross out of Maryland. Big fan of this guy. I'm not scouting helmets here when I say that he plays a lot like Darnell Savage, who did also go to the University of Maryland. I can't help that. It just is what it is. Number 9, I think this is more of a early round 3 pick. Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati. Eric Decker on steroids. I said it before. I'll say it again. And then my number 10 guy. If the Jets weren't able to get Jermaine Johnson, get back into round 2, I would have loved for them to go Nick Bonito. I think that he has all the raw talent in the world, and I'm very excited to see what he does when he can get coached up. I'm very excited to see. I think he's my Odafe Oweh this year. He is completely dependent on where he goes, but if he goes to somewhere where he can get playing time and work with a good coaching staff, could you imagine him across from TJ Watt getting coached up by Brian Flores? Oh my God. I guess I'm rooting for him now to go to Baltimore. I guess I just want all of these guys to go play in rivalry games against each other. Because Oweh, I wanted to go to Baltimore last year. He did. I'd love for Pittsburgh to be the destination for Nick Bonito. Oh, I'm just watching to see if Donovan Mitchell chokes. He's Donovan Mitchell, so I don't think he will. I love that guy. Rudy Gobert. Man, Dallas and Utah coming down to the wire. Could this be the end of the Donovan Mitchell-Rudy Gobert? I know I'm supposed to be, doing the draft and all that, but, this is a huge game. 23 seconds left. I'm a sports fan, guys. I love football, but sports ball. That's my... Oh, Luka's about to hit him with a step back. Or he just takes Rudy to the rim. Oh, no timeout. 10 seconds. Conley. Did they just call travel on Conley? Oh, no. The grizzled vet. How dare you shuffle the puppies? But anyway. What a fun day. And I'm not just saying that because I think the New York Jets had a fantastic draft. I'm saying that because I think the New York Jets had a fantastic draft. No, I do. I think they had a great draft. Go back and see my reaction to Sauce and particularly Garrett Wilson because Kayvon Thibodeau was the one I really wanted at 4, but you can hear it before the pick was made. If there's one person that the Jets do not take, or the Jets take that isn't Kayvon Thibodeau that I'd be fine with and actually really like, it's Sauce Gardner. And I think he's going to be a lockdown corner. He's my number 2 player on the board, and the Jets got him at 4. And then they got Garrett Wilson at 10. If I'm thinking of the big winners from today, and this is the segment that's going to age the worst by far. The Jets were a big winner. I thought the Ravens were a really big winner. Even though they lost Hollywood Brown, they got a really damn good safety, and they got their center for the next decade. Bengals, Daxton Hill. You kidding me? 31st overall pick. Love that pick for Cincinnati. Houston Texans. Oh, my gosh. Derek Stingley and Kenyon Green. I love it for the Houston Texans. Absolutely just great pick for them. I think the Chiefs had a great day. Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie. If you told me that was their haul, I would have been very happy. Oh, Brunson missed a free throw. Ugh. I think Dallas had an underrated day. Tyler Smith. I think that's a really good pick. They did a lot of damage to their offensive line getting rid of La'el Collins. I think Tyler Smith can begin to fill some of those holes. New York Giants, oh, just a great day. You go and you get Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, fantastic day. Philadelphia Eagles, I forgot to talk about Jordan Davis. What did I give the Jordan Davis? Because, I feel like the Eagles fans even forgot they got Jordan Davis. Because as soon as they drafted Jordan Davis, they traded for A.J. Brown. And so it's like, what? What did I give the Jordan Davis pick? I gave it an A-, and I think I gave it an A- because I was upset that they didn't go with a receiver because I think they needed a receiver. So I'm going to bump that to an A. The Eagles had a great draft. Jordan Davis and A.J. Brown, I mean, they've been plotting something for a long time. You just knew that Howie Roseman he was going to trade at some point. And it wasn't going to involve a linebacker. Those are the two things you knew involving the Philadelphia Eagles. Loved what the Eagles did today. They had a fantastic draft. The Lions, I love the Hutchinson pick. And Jamison Williams, that pick is growing more on me. I think I gave it a B- or a C+. I think I bump it up to a B. I mean, I'm not the biggest Jamison Williams guy. I admit that. But if there's a team that can afford to let him sit, it's the Detroit Lions, and I think they really can. I think they had a solid day, and they moved up 20 spots and didn't give up that much to do it. Regardless if they didn't trade up to get a quarterback that would have been a reach. So I should bump that up at least 2-letter grades for that. What, super A? I don't know. Good day for the Lions. Falcons, I think they got a good receiver in Drake London. Could be the next Brandon Marshall. Oh, I got to see what happens here. 2-point game, 4.3 seconds left. It's got to be Donovan Mitchell. Oh, my gosh. Bogdanovich. Oh, no, he missed it. The Jazz are done. That man had no one within 4 counties of him and missed it. That had to be Donovan Mitchell taking that shot. That was a great play, but you got to make that shot. Panthers made their shot today. I saved myself there. Ike Ekwonu. I mean, that was the best possible spot for the Panthers. They don't reach on a quarterback. They get the best offensive lineman in the draft. They need offensive line so bad it hurts. Ike Ekwonu, great pick for the Carolina Panthers. Best they could have possibly asked for, in my opinion. I never get to say this, so let me just warm up my voice. Me. The Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks, the team that drops, the team that drops by dartboard. I mean, it's messing with my voice saying that the Seahawks had a good draft. The Seahawks, the team that drafts by dartboard. The dartboard gave him Charles Cross. That's a damn good pick. 6th overall player on my board. Big win for the Seattle Seahawks today. Loved what they did. Let's talk about the quote-unquote losers. Patriots. Cole Strange was a reach. Position of need, sure, but you could have gotten a better position. Or a better player at that spot. You could have traded down, gotten even more picks. Cole Strange is not a first-round player. He's a late third-round pick, maybe a mid-third-round pick. He's not a first-round pick. Simple. Makes no sense to me. Steelers, they just drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round. And this Malik Willis I would have been kinder to, even though I have him lower, because the traits are there that maybe you can develop. And you can let Trubisky play a season and then put in Willis. Steelers are going to try to play Pickett, and nothing about him excites me. I was more excited about Mack Jones last year, and I think Mack Jones is what he is, and he's not going to get any better than he was last season. I feel the same about Pickett. He's like 24. By the time he gets to that second contract, he's nearly 30. I'm not a big fan of that pick. Jacksonville Jaguars. I like the Devin Lloyd pick, but you used the first overall pick in the draft to get Trayvon Walker. You took an L. I'm not going to give the Titans an L for this draft. I'm not making them one of the losers. They just got Treylon Burks, who can be A.J. Brown. Yeah, they lost out on a great player, and the Eagles are, gigantic winners for getting A.J. Brown, but I'm not going to penalize the Titans. They got a first-round pick out of it, and I think Treylon Burks is going to be pretty damn good. So I'm not going to come down on them too hard. I'm not going to put the Commanders among losers. I I think Dotson is more of just like an okay pick. And I like Dotson. I think he's a first-round receiver. I just think he went a little bit early. I think the Commanders panicked a little bit once they saw that none of their corners were available. And I really thought they were going to go with Kyle Hamilton in that spot. At number 11, they could have gone with Jameson Williams. They could have gone with Chris Olave. They trade down, and they picked Dotson. It doesn't make a ton of sense, but I don't hate it because I do think Dotson, there is a path to being a really good player in Washington. Maybe like with a different quarterback and a different owner. I don't know. Packers, huge L. Huge L. You don't help your quarterback at all. Quarterback that came back. And Quay Walker. Yikes. Vikings, a gigantic L. I mean, Lewis Seen's not an awful pick, but I don't think he's a particularly good pick, and you give up 20 spots in your draft. And you don't get anything near a good enough return for that. I thought that was a big L. I think the Saints had a bit of a split decision. One really good pick, one pick I'm not a big fan of, so they end up somewhere in the middle. Cardinals, gigantic. You used your first-round pick on Hollywood Brown. If Hollywood Brown was in this draft, I wouldn't pick him before late round 2, early round 3. What are you doing? What are you doing? You used a first-round pick on Hollywood Brown. The Dolphins didn't even use a first-round pick on Tyreek Hill. Or did they? No, they used like 30th. They used a worse first-round pick to get Tyreek Hill than you did Hollywood Brown. Yeah, they played together in college. You going to use your next first-round pick on Charleston Rambo? Come on now. Let's not be stupid. That's it. That's all the content I got. I'm sure I could come up with a lot more. Hey, I got a lot to feel good about. I feel great. I'm on cloud. If there's a cloud 9, I'm on cloud 10 right now. I feel pretty damn good. If you could have told me today that I would feel this good without getting Kayvon Thibodeau, I would have been like, we got Debo then, right? No. But Joe Douglas is a wizard, and I think there might be a Giants DM there, or GM, doing a pretty good job. If there's one takeaway from tonight, I hope it's this. 2 things. 1, teams were smart. They did not overpay and overpick for quarterbacks. They were smart. They saw this was a bad class, and they waited until round 2. That is except for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who picked, lesser Mack Jones. But, yeah, that's why I included them in the losers category. I didn't think I'd be feeling good about the Panthers, and it's still hard to feel good about the Panthers. Sam Darnold's your quarterback. I volunteer as tribute. I might do half as well as Sam Darnold, but you're not going to trot Malik Willis behind an awful offensive line. Whoever the next guy is, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, whoever, is going to have Ike Ekwonu, and Ike Ekwonu is phenomenal. And did my camera just die? No, it didn't. There's no way. I've just been talking for significantly longer than I thought it did, and it just fell asleep. Huh. But yeah, the Panthers, Ike Ekwonu. Hopefully McCaffrey can stay healthy. Because, you got that guy in the run game. Whew. Phenomenal. The second thing that I hope that everybody takes away from this lovely, lovely night of drafting. New York football is back. The Jets and the Giants, they've been dormant for years, but they're coming for blood. There's hope. I don't get to feel hope too often, so if you see me in the street with a big old grin on my face, let me have this one. Good night, everybody.